You play chess every day, study openings, and watch YouTube videos, but your rating won't really move. But it's not that you're inherently bad at chess or something. It's just that you're training the wrong things. Here are 5 simple tips that you can implement to improve your chess rating right now. So, the first tip is that you're actually playing Blitz and Bullet way too much. Everybody knows it. You go to the toilet, you pull out your phone, and you just play a bullet game. Okay? I'd actually not recommend you that because at the beginning, if you're actually trying to improve, if you're just playing for fun and you don't really care about improvement, all right, play Blitz and play Bullet. But if you're actually trying to improve, don't waste your time playing in half an hour, playing half an hour Blitz. For example, I did this, and this is just a complete waste of time. If you want to improve, don't waste your time doing that. You would be much rather playing 10-minute rapid games, and then you can analyze that game. Why is that so important? For example, if you're playing Blitz, you don't really have the time to think about your moves. Like you're just playing a move completely based on intuition. And especially if you're low rated, your intuition is not that good. But in Rapid, you actually have time to think about your moves. And then you can get better because then you realize, okay, this is what I thought was right, but it was completely wrong. So don't play Blitz and Bullet. It can actually be a complete waste of time if you do it. And the second thing is stop spending too much time on openings and try to spend more time on other things and try to only follow opening principles. Like I see a lot of people, they study openings, like they're literally 1100, 1200 on chess.com. But they spend 2 or 3 hours watching some YouTube video about some opening that is, I don't know, giving them, it's not improving, it's not helping you, especially at that level. Okay, if you're like 2000 FIDE, do it. But you're probably not if you're watching this video. And the opening study time can be used for tactical drills, can be used for analyzing your games, for a lot better, for many better things than opening study. The problem, especially with opening study, is that it makes you feel like you're improving. Like, okay, let's go. I just did 3 hours of opening study. Let's go. But like, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you, especially if you're like 1100. For example, you're 1100. Your opponents deviate basically on move 2, and you need to be able to punish that. And how do you punish that? With opening principles. That is the onlyest way. So learn the opening principles. If you don't already know them, learn them and try to follow them. That is the most important thing. Now, obviously, against first e4, you can, I don't know, spend 2 hours at one time and, I don't know, learn one opening. But don't play the Sicilian, for example. I would recommend play the Caro-Kann, watch 1 or 2 videos, and you will already understand most of it. And that's all. Don't overcomplicate it. Follow opening principles, okay? So, this third thing is analyze your chess games. This is probably what you heard a lot. And I'd actually recommend you to follow this because I also heard this, but I still didn't follow it. Why? Because I was too lazy to do it. And also because I was playing Blitz. And in Blitz, you don't care, you just play the next game. So this ties in with the first tip, stop playing Blitz and analyze your games. Why is that so useful? Well, because, for example, imagine you're getting an exam back in school and your teacher didn't even correct it. Like most of us in school, they get an exam back, your teacher corrected it, but you're not even looking at it. Like that is what most people do in school. That is what I do in school. But why? Because I don't really care about improving. If you actually cared about your exam and to get better, I don't know, in maths or something, if you actually care about that, then you would look at your exam and look exactly where your mistakes were. Obviously, you would do that, right? Because that will teach you where your weaknesses are. And you have to do the same thing with chess. So if you actually do care about improvement, you will try to find your most crucial mistakes and then you will try to fix them. So the fourth thing I want to talk about is creating a good thought process. What do I mean by that? In chess, it's a game of the mind, obviously. So you have to create a simple working thought process. Why? Because that is the whole game. That is the whole game. And getting that organized is basically bringing you so much improvement. So for example, you can use, for example, the checklist. And a thought process is just how you think. For example, the checklist is checks, captures, and attacks. You ask yourself, what checks do I have, what captures, and what attacks do I have? Now, I think that only scratches the surface, and there are much better things to think about. For example, what I like to ask myself is number one, did my opponent create a threat? If yes, do I need to respond to the threat? If that is answered no, I can go to the next step. If the first question, does my opponent have a threat, is also answered no, I can simply go, what are my opponent's weaknesses? And what is my worst piece? And simply these two questions will basically help you find the best move in almost every position, because you can ask yourself, okay, my worst piece is, for example, the bishop on c8 trapped behind my e-pawn in a lot of positions, for example, in a lot of French defenses or in a lot of semi-self defenses, for example. And then you will try to find a plan to improve that piece. And by asking yourself, what are my opponent's weaknesses, you will also try to put this piece on a very, very nice square. Meaning that you're basically saying, okay, I put it on this square, where it's also attacking this weakness. So you know where to put the pieces, where to improve them, if you ask yourself this question. And I think this is actually quite a strong thinking process. Obviously, you sometimes have to be very, very careful about your opponent's threats, which is why you have to answer that first question. And sometimes there are tactics. So improving your worst piece doesn't help you. And sometimes there are strategical decisions. For example, changing the pawn structure or something. That is a strategical decision. In these cases, you cannot use that simple three question thinking process. But in most cases, this is possible. So the last thing I want to talk about is actually understanding position evaluation. I know a lot of people, they look at positions and yeah, they just have a feel. But sometimes they're just completely mis-evaluating positions. They actually don't know how to evaluate a position. Do you know? I hope you do, but if you don't, I'm going to teach you very quickly. What you need to look out for in positions are king safety, piece activity, pawn structure, and control of the center or space. Those are the 4 key points. Now, obviously, they are different, or there are other things as well, like open files and everything, but those are the most important. King safety is even more important than anything else, right? If your king is unsafe, you're probably going to get crushed. The second thing is piece activity. If your opponent's pieces are all over your board, they are very active, and that is very important. And the third thing is pawn structure. Obviously, if you have completely doubled pawns, then that is probably not good. And the other thing is control of the center. Like, for example, if you have a huge space advantage and you control the center, that is very, very good, because now your pieces can move around that and get active. Why did I say king safety first? Because king safety is the most important, and the second important is piece activity. Obviously, in endgames this changes. Then the piece activity also includes the king, and king safety doesn't really matter. But in general, middle game positions, king safety and piece activity are the 2 most important things. So those were the 5 tips I wanted to give you so that you can skyrocket your chess improvement right now. If you like this video, hit the like and subscribe button right now. If you want to get your chess games personally analyzed by me, click the first link in the description, and I see you in the next video.